evening. As we reported earlier, New Zealand has shot to its first gold medal here at the Commonwealth Games. New Plymouth shooter Nadine Stanton and Auckland's Teresa Borrell took out the pair's double trap event. Europe correspondent Ian Sinclair was there.
At Bisley, the shot that helped carry New Zealand to its first Commonwealth Games gold. Nadine Stanton picked up 39 points in this final round of double trap pairs.
Did a great job.
I had to. Those Aussies and those Canadians are pretty tough to beat.
Teresa Borrell bagged 33. It wasn't until their ecstatic teammates tallied both scores that they realised they had 137 points, just one ahead of Canada, 6 ahead of Australia.
And then when the people come down and tally, it's an awesome feeling, really awesome.
Stanton learned her trade from her father.
Well, Dad took me out to the gun club about age 13, threw a shotgun in my hand and said, "There's some targets, now hit them."
Dad probably never dreamt it would come to this.
I'm just really so proud to be a Kiwi.
No more proud, though, than Nadine's mum, Diane.
I stand out there every practice. She helps me train every time. That's why I wanted her as first support.
Already the shooters have got their eye on new targets.
A few World Cups and World Champs next year, and then on towards the Olympics, hopefully, but this is a bloody good start.
Shooting isn't exactly a big spectator sport, and in fact this event is tucked away in southern England, far from the glamour of Manchester Stadium. But that hasn't stopped a couple of Kiwi athletes from carving their own place in New Zealand Commonwealth Games sporting history. Ian Sinclair, One News, Bisley.
And the New Zealand medal winning didn't stop there on the third day of competition. 17-year-old Valerie Adams has continued her rise to stardom with an outstanding performance in the shot put. Steve Marshall has more.
The silver medalist representing New Zealand, Valerie Adams.
Only Valerie Adams could explain the feeling inside.
I dedicated my silver medal to my mother, who passed away in 2000, died of cancer, but I have people like Kirsten and her mother that helped replace that loss in my life, and that's awesome.
That's Kirsten Hellier, Valerie's coach, and first port of call for the 17-year-old after claiming that silver medal.
She's my family, my coach, my friend, you name it, my counsellor, my mother.
I love it a bit, if that's what you mean. Yeah, it's just been a fantastic week. I'm just so happy for her. Could boost.
After 5 throws each, Nigeria's Vivian Chukwuemeka stood between Adams and gold with a throw of 17.53 metres. Adams held second with 17.45 as she launched her final effort.
No, bad luck, but a great performance by Adams.
It's great. I mean, I had an awesome time. My throws weren't as good as I wanted them to be, but at the end of the day, I had a great time.
While most of the attention was focused on Valerie Adams, Kiwi hammer thrower Phil Jensen was quietly working his way into the medals. The 34-year-old Wellingtonian was a late qualifier for the Games, but at one stage he led the field after 4 throws.
You know, he's got something on that. Oh, look, that's just below the 70-metre line.
However, England's Mick Jones cleaned up, slinging out 2 throws over the 70-metre mark.
He's thrown a biggie just to confirm that he's a true Commonwealth champion.
My aim was to perform well, and some guys cracked under pressure, and I was able to sustain it, and I'm obviously delighted to be able to come away with a silver medal.
Go for you, beauty!
I'll keep at it until someone younger in New Zealand's better than me, I guess.
Steve Marshall, One News, Manchester.
There were several other Kiwis in action in the track and field, including one of the blue ribbon events, the men's marathon. Matt Hunt has the action.
Near-perfect conditions greeted the 24-strong field, which featured 3 New Zealanders who were up against the might of African marathon running. Wellington's Jonathan Wyatt made his intentions clear early on, leading from the gun and setting the pace. But as expected, it was the African nations that dominated, Tanzania's Francis Nali crossing the line first, albeit in a state of confusion.
Well, I don't think he knows that he's finished the race.
He at Kenya's Eric Wainaina was also unsure that the race was about to end as he was pounced on by Australian Andrew Letherby, who took bronze. Just under 1 minute later, it was Wyatt nearing the line in a very creditable 6th spot and claiming a personal best time.
But this is a great performance here from Jonathan Wyatt from New Zealand. Not one of the fancied runners,
More fancied was Auckland's Chantal Brunner, the 5th-ranked Commonwealth long jumper, having few problems in making tomorrow night's final. With 2 of our 3 women pole vaulters pulling out of the Games, it was up to national champ Melina Hamilton to carry New Zealand's hopes.
And she qualifies nicely for the final.
Nicely qualifying for the men's 200-metre semi-final was Dunedin's Dallas Roberts, the 22-year-old putting in a solid showing and finishing 3rd in his 2nd round. Matt Hunt, One News, Manchester.
Our hockey teams enjoyed their best day on the scoreboard this morning. As David DeSoma reports, both the men's and women's sides are eyeing up places in the semi-finals.
Named as captain for the match, goalkeeper Helen Clark was leading from the back and showing all the skills she's crafted from an 11-year international career.
And Helen Clark gets a hand to it. Ball lifted again. Good save. It was on its way towards the goal.
On no fewer than 9 occasions, she thwarted the Indians, though she could do little to deny Jewett Kulu.
And track back. Here's a great opportunity for the Indians. Flicked over and into the goal. Great goal.
This was a bumbling New Zealand side which just gave away too much possession.
I thought we put ourselves under pressure where we didn't need to, and by giving the ball away, certainly in the deep defence, and there's times where you just need to relieve pressure, and I didn't think we did that particularly well.
The Black Sticks had only 2 shots on goal in the first half. Susie Pearce scored from one of them.
Opportunity on the reverse stick. It's there.
With 5 minutes gone in the second spell, Colleen Gubb-Sutterby repeated the dose.
And in the net. 2-1.
And Moira Senior secured a none too convincing victory, 3-1, again from a short corner.
Moira Senior scores. It's 3-1 and that'll wrap it up.
The New Zealand men's team was desperate for an even bigger scoreline against Barbados, especially after playoff rival South Africa disposed of the Caribbean nation 10-1. As he did in the loss to Australia, Hayden Shaw opened the scoring with a drag flick that's very much his trademark.
I've only had it timed by metres per second, and I'm flicking it between 26 and 29 metres per second.
Shaw added 2 more before half-time. The Kiwis led 7-0 in what was Bevan Hari's 100th international.
It was pretty enjoyable. They let us have a lot of room to move the ball around, and we put them under a bit of pressure and caused a lot of turnovers, and we had a lot of open shots, and you generally don't get them in this level of hockey.
With Ryan Archibald nailing 4 goals, the Kiwis' 13-0 victory eclipsed South Africa's winning margin. They play the Republic tomorrow. David DeSoma, One News, Manchester.
The team's victory over India this morning has guaranteed them of at least a bronze medal. They play Singapore in tomorrow's semis. It's a similar scenario for the women's table tennis team. They downed England in their quarter-final, ensuring they'll finish in the medals. They too can now do no worse than bronze. So the medal table after 3 full days of competition sees Australia's tally looking pretty healthy. However, England is only 3 goals off the pace. New Zealand is 8th. And great news for one of our Paralympians. Tim Prendergast has won the 800 metres title for sight-impaired athletes at the World Champs in France. Well, it was just the new cyclists in the Tour de France didn't want to hear. Lance Armstrong will be back next year. The American has taken out his 4th Tour title in a row, becoming just the 5th rider to win it 4 times. And he did it by a massive margin of more than 7 minutes. Michelle Pickles has more.
It's become a familiar sight, but the thrill of winning this race never dims for Lance Armstrong. And the 30-year-old seems intent on continuing the habit. He's already talking about next year.
I love the event, I love my job, and I love to win. I love to win this bike race, and you know, there can be somebody that comes along and is better, and they beat you, and you've got to go back and figure out what you do, but I'll be on the start line.
Armstrong picked up the yellow jersey 10 days ago, and it's been on his back ever since. So with the race wrapped up, he lost no time celebrating with his US Postal Service teammates. The peloton was content with a rather relaxed pace as it cruised through the streets of Paris. Up ahead, though, the race for the green jersey was in high gear, and it was Australian Robbie McEwen who sealed the sprint victory in the best possible fashion by winning the final stage. But once again, the day belonged to Lance Armstrong. The man who beat cancer has now beaten the Tour for the 4th consecutive time. He'll be back next year, intent on making it 5. Michelle Pickles, One News.
4 years ago, Craig Barrett's body gave up just 1,200 metres short of a Commonwealth Games gold medal. Tomorrow night, he'll push his body to the limit once again as he attempts to erase those painful memories and win the 50k walk in Manchester. Steve Marshall reports.
And suddenly Barrett looks like he might be in a bit of trouble here.
Oh,
He has
goodness me.
Suffered from heat stroke and hyponatremia. Hyponatremia being where your salt levels decrease to a level where your body won't work.
This is a tragedy here for Craig Barrett. Looks like
4 years ago, heat exhaustion robbed Craig Barrett of a certain Commonwealth gold.
I just didn't listen to my body at 42k. I just didn't, you know, button off enough. And so that's where I was angry with myself that I wasn't smart enough.
There it is, the most tragic sight you'll see at these games.
John Davies and myself, when we were commentating it live, we both had this feeling, a sickening feeling in our stomachs.
This is terrible, terrible stuff.
And I know John Davies, after the race, and I'm sure he won't mind me saying this, he just broke down and cried in the commentary box. That's the sort of impact it had.
This time, Barrett's hoping for tears of joy.
My sweat rate's 1.2 litres per hour, so I'll be making sure that I replace that. And I'll make sure that I have my salts, and I'll make sure that I have my carbohydrates.
It'll be the fairy tale story of the Games, I think, if he does win the gold medal. And he has an excellent chance to do so. He's the fastest in the Commonwealth this year, over 50 Ks.
Barrett's quest for gold starts on Tuesday here in Salford Quays, west of Manchester, home to one of England's most famous late artists, L.S. Lowry. And if the Hamiltonian is to paint the perfect picture this time round, then the weather's on his side, with temperatures expected in the early 20s. Steve Marshall, One News, Manchester.
Yes, good luck to Craig. Well, another busy day from Manchester. I'll see you again on One Sports live coverage of the Commonwealth Games tonight at 9:30.
Well, after the break, Jim says we're on a bit of a roll. The sun's set to keep shining.
And we'll have an update on that police pursuit that caused chaos among rush hour traffic in Auckland.